Hello, hello. Good evening. Hello, Jane from Missouri. Can you hear me, by the way? Just let me know if you can hear me, because I have no idea. Hoping everybody can. Rosie, good evening from London. I know Rosie from Twitter, so. Denise, love the opening, very blinger. Like a little bit of bling, Denise. Nothing like a bit of bling on a Wednesday night. We've got 6 people here at the moment. 5, 6, is it? I don't know. How's everybody doing? Sheffield. Alchemy Needlework. I am from Sheffield. I'm already liking you big time. You're like my favourite person at the moment. I'm from Sheffield originally. I don't live there now, obviously. Yes, can hear you. There is, I will just say before we get started, I've been playing around with this thing for a few days now, and you've got to kind of balance it. Rosie is dying. I apologise, Rosie. I hope you get better soon. You've got to balance it between the picture quality and the sound, and so I'm afraid I'll probably still going to have a 10, maybe 15 second delay in getting back to you guys on the chat tonight, but I will keep stopping periodically. And hopefully I'll be able to catch up with what you're saying in there. How many have we got now? 8 people, which is good. Anything is good. What do you think of, while we're here, what do you think of the haircut? Do you think is it impressive? I mean, it is spring, and like all sheep, they have to get, you know, shorn. Is it shorn? Is that the right word? Shorn, yeah, so here you go. Just thought I'd come on with a nice clean head of hair tonight. Honesty and truth, I can't stay for long, but I do enjoy your channel. Well, that's fine, honesty. I mean, not everybody, you know, I don't expect people to hang around forever. That's absolutely fine. I'm hoping tonight that this is going to be no longer than about maybe 30 minutes in total, me doing all my talk and everything. So we'll wait and see. Rosie, you look very handsome. Thank you, Rosie. It's much appreciated. It's just a pity that the light is reflecting into my glasses, as you can see here. Otherwise, you'd see tears emerging from the head. Very nice. Thanks, Denise. Yeah, it is. Very nice. I've got a tissue for Rosie if she wants one. Got a spare tissue. If you want one, Rosie, spare tissue for you there. Keep you and blow your nose on that. Oh, Cheryl's here. Good evening, Cheryl. She's joined us from Jacksonville in the USA. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Much appreciated you being here, Cheryl. It's not about me. It's all about you guys, and we're up to 10. We've got double figures. It's amazing. Right. Tonight we are talking. Hello from Germany. Anita's here. Good evening, Anita. Hello. Right. What was I going to say? I'm going to get started. Like I say, I apologise for the slight delay in me coming through to you or whatever it is, but hopefully we'll be able to get through it one way or another. And as long as I don't mute myself, which is for all those, this is only my third ever live stream, and as long as I don't mute myself, everything should go absolutely swimmingly, brilliantly. Alchemy. I thought I recognised the Sheffield twang. Yeah, you never lose it, do you? I don't do the DDoS. I've kind of grown out of doing DDoS, and probably only Alchemy will know what I'm talking about when I say DDoS. Right, I'm going to start. I've never got 12 people. Okay, that's great. Anyway, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I think it's just ladies at the moment. I've talked about the stream. We've had a few quick hellos, and I think everybody is pretty much settled and ready to go. So let's get on with it. Tonight I am covering something that I really wanted to make a video about, but I do think that streaming this particular item would translate probably much better in this style of format. So if you're not aware, which I doubt, as I guess you wouldn't have tuned in otherwise, tonight I'm looking at what can only be described as one of the world's greatest works of art, and it's certainly one of my favourites. Leela, good evening. Thank you. I'm really pleased you enjoy the channel. We'll chat more in a few minutes. So back to what we were doing, what we're here for. I, like yourselves, are possibly not completely at one with the art world. However, we all know what we like in a painting, or in fact any image, although describing it is of course somewhat different. Now hopefully I'll be able to give you some answers to your views on this work, and yet, as they say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So the final decision as to whether you like it or not is a personal choice, and as far as I'm concerned, that's exactly how it should be. So this is not going to be one of those heavy duty talks. I'll be completely honest, I'm sure you already realise that. I am no professor, either have I ever studied art, so I'm going to keep it nice and plain, nice and simple, but hopefully point out some aspects of the painting you may or may not be aware of. I'm also going to be explaining a little about how this came to be in the first place. Now, on top of all that, I've been a little bit busy, not too busy. I have put together a few clips and I've lined them up, giving a very brief insight into the lives and the careers of the people involved in this story, which will hopefully help you. Pardon the pun, paint a better picture, and that is my joke of the night. I'm not doing any more jokes. People don't like it when I do jokes. I think I'm quite hilarious, but people don't. Anyway, so over the next 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, depending on how it all goes, we're going to have a look at the artist, we're going to have a look at the historical context of this work, and we're going to take a closer look at the painting and show you some of the delicacy and stunning realism that would create this beautiful image. So we have got 11 people in the room, which is great. So without further ado, let's have a look at what all the fuss is about. And now, for those of you who don't know a great deal about the life of Charles I, here is the first of my clips tonight. Now, all the clips come towards the beginning of this talk, so they're all pretty much instant, one after the other. But the first one is about Charles I. Like I said, we're going to look at some of the characters. So if you know nothing about Charles, here is, I think it lasts for about 1 minute. It's a very brief and quick highlights of Charles's life. In 1603, Charles's father became King of England, and Charles also moved where he lived the remainder of his life. He was born into the House of Stuart as the second son of King James VI of Scotland. Taxes and the danger of religious reform made Charles unpopular, but he also generated many other distractions during this time period, not to mention the civil conflicts. Numerous requests for a constitutional monarchy were turned down by Charles on numerous occasions, but by November 1647 Charles refused to comply. After being exiled to the Isle of Wight, he formed a coalition with the Scots, but the parliamentarian New Model Army had taken control of England by the end of the year, and in January 1649 Charles was brought to trial, found guilty and killed for high treason. The monarchy was then abolished and England became a republic known as the Commonwealth of England. Charles II, Charles's son, would inherit the throne after the restoration of the monarchy in 1660. So there we go, a little brief insight into Charles I. I keep saying Charles I. I don't know, Charles I. I think I've done a video on Charles I. I've done that many videos on different people. I can't quite remember. I might have to do another one on him because he had quite a life. Yes, so back to tonight's story. So there you go, Charles I life in about a minute there. So you'll get the gist of what we're going to be talking about tonight. Now, I'm initially going to start talking about the artist responsible for this painting. His name was Anthony van Dyck. He was born in 1599 and died in 1641 at the young age of just 42. Yet he would be remembered as being one of the greatest in his field. And again, I'll put together another short clip about Anthony, and if you know nothing about him, here's a little insight into Anthony van Dyck. Anthony van Dyck was the seventh child of a wealthy Antwerp silk merchant, Frans van Dyck. He began painting at a young age. In his late teens, he was a successful independent painter, and in 1618 he was elected master of the Antwerp Guild. By this time, he was operating in the studio of Rubens, the best painter of the day, who had a significant influence on his art. Van Dyck worked in London for a few months in 1621, then returned to Flanders for a short time before travelling to Italy, where he resided largely in Genoa until 1627. After returning from Italy, he spent 5 years in Flanders as a court painter for the Archduchess Isabella, the Habsburg governor of Flanders. At the request of Charles I, he returned to London in 1632. There he would serve as the primary court painter. So there we go, a little bit about Anthony van Dyck. Now, as it said in that short clip, he was born in Antwerp. Obviously, he was a painter, but he was influenced by Rubens and other Italian artists, particularly another guy you may have heard of called Titian. Now, as a 14-year-old, he was hired as Rubens' personal assistant and swiftly rose to prominence. And now, although his portraits of Charles I are quite possibly his most famous works, he was also an accomplished painter of religious and mythological subjects. Just going to have a quick look at this. Where is it gone? Where's it gone? It is pronounced Lila. So is it Lila? Am I pronouncing it wrong? Because I said Leela, and she's just put a message in there saying it is pronounced Lila. I guess it's Lila. Anyway, we'll come back to that. So yeah, after serving Charles's father, James I, Van Dyck then went to Italy and stayed there until 1627 when he returned to England. Since then, his portraits of Charles I and his family have become a benchmark for all English portraiture, and in 1632 he became a court painter. Now, as a gift and with hope of some reconciliation between the Catholic Church and the Church of England, a Pope, Urban VIII, commissioned a bust to be made by a sculptor called Lorenzo Benini. Now, before I continue, like I said, we're going to go through each of these characters. So the guy who wanted the bust, the Pope Lorenzo Benini, here is a little background on him, and I'll be back. It's probably about 40 seconds. I'll see you shortly. Maffeo Vincenzo Barberini was Pope Urban VIII, and he was the head of the Catholic Church and ruler of the Papal States. from the 6th of August 1623 to his death in 1644. As Pope, he expanded the papal territory, not just by force but also through politics, and was also a prominent patron of the arts and a reformer of church missions. When he commissioned Benini to create a bust of Charles I as a gift to Charles's wife Henrietta Maria, the hopes were that the gift would help reconcile the Catholic Church with the Church of England, founded by Henry VIII, who formed a new church after refusal of the Catholic one to allow him to divorce his then wife, Catherine of Aragon. The Pope had found an ally in Charles, and the bust would have gone quite some way into cementing this new friendship and an understanding between the two churches. So there you go, there's a little bit about Pope Urban VIII. Now, as I said, Lorenzo Benini, he was the sculptor, the man, said to have commissioned the portrait to construct a bust of King Charles I for his wife Henrietta Maria. Now, the composition was possibly inspired by this next image I'm going to show you, which is this one. It was inspired by this guy's painting, a man called Lorenzo Lotto, whose the painting is called A Triple Portrait of a Goldsmith, which was in Charles's collection at the time, and in the years that followed, other numerous artists were inspired by the style of this particular picture, and this style actually caught on for a little while. Now, where are we? Hi from Canada. Hello, Cheryl. Thank you. Thanks for joining us tonight. Pablo, good evening. They're in Switzerland. So we've got quite an international lineup here, as well as Sheffield, of course, not forgetting Sheffield. I will come back to the questions and bits and bobs as quickly as I can. Now, as with other people in the story, we're just going to have a final little clip, actually. It's a quick clip about the sculptor Benini and some of his outstanding work. Now, some of the images, the marbles that you're going to see, you may recognise. So after this, then we're going to actually move on to talk about the painting itself. So, the last of the characters, Benini. Here is a short introduction and a little information about the guy's life. Benini was an Italian sculptor and architect. He was born on December the 7th, 1598 in Naples. When he was 8 years old, he was already known as a genius and received constant encouragement from his father. The Baroque style of sculpture was largely credited to him as the leading sculptor of his time, and he was regarded as a worthy successor to Michelangelo because of his broad technical diversity, his infinite compositional originality, and just sheer brilliance in handling marble. So, there you go, there's a little bit of background on all the four characters. We've got the Pope who commissioned the bust. It was Benini who then had to commission the painting, and that's like the trail, if you like, of how it went. So, we're now going to have a look at a little bit of the historical context on this particular image. Now, the artwork was created in the middle of Charles's personal rule. Now, that was a 10-year period in which he ruled without a parliament. Now, the effects of his changes in finance, religion, and even foreign policy were causing some groups to become agitated. And of course, tensions were rising, and all of these tensions would lead eventually to the commencement of the English Civil War in 1642. Now, a possible motivation for this may have been Charles's belief in his own divine appointment as king and his desire to establish himself as the one who could not be disputed. Now, Van Dyck's meticulous representation transforms a purely functional commission into an absolute stunning work of art. Now, maybe it was done in order to impress the English court and establish the picture as a respectable addition to Charles' extensive collection of paintings. The fact, though, that it is still part of the royal collection and is displayed in Queen Elizabeth II's drawing room at Windsor Castle proves that this goal was achieved. Now, however, the bust that was based on the picture was lost in a fire at Whitehall Palace in 1698. So therefore, the preliminary painting, which would have also been considered a significant work of art at the time, unfortunately, that was lost too. Right, so that's the end of that little section. Evening Sus, thanks for joining us. David, this is amazing. I'm literally doing a history A-level about 17th century Britain. Thank you, David, much appreciated. I'm not a teacher, I'm just a guy who likes history, so if you're enjoying this and it's helping, then that's great. That's all I can say, really. Okay, we're going to get onto the painting. We've not even seen the painting yet. For the next part, we're going to look a little bit more closely at this particular painting, and I will point out to you some of the detail. You'll probably thinking about it, you'll probably never look at a painting again and think about it in the same way as you do now when you walk into some of these galleries and you see these paintings and you think, yep, that's really nice. Don't like that one. That's really nice. And that's kind of what you do because, like I say, I'm no art student. I've never, I'm not a professor of art or anything like that. But you do like what you see, and it is what it is. Right, we'll come back to the messages shortly, but I need to move. How long have we been going for? 26 minutes. I actually timed this, and I timed it around 30 minutes, but by the way things are going, I think we're probably looking nearer to 45 at the moment. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking and we're going to carry on. Right, so this is the picture. Well, this is the top part of the picture, the upper part of the image. There you go. So for this picture, Van Dyck depicted the monarch in 3 distinct poses, all in order to show his face in its entirety. Now today, and looking at it myself, it just looks like a contemporary mugshot. I mean, the only thing that's missing is Charles, holding up a sign stating his police number. Now, although, and in spite of his pale complexion and relaxed smile, he does exude a sense of authority, while nevertheless in a laid-back kind of pose. Now, in order to depict his sunken cheeks and the wrinkles beneath his eyes, you can see the artist painted his skin with great care and some, it's realism, obviously. Now, Charles was noted for his diminutive stature. I think, if memory serves me right, he was only around 4 feet 11 inches tall, and it said he would wear platform shoes and wear tall hats to increase his presence. Now, maybe much of his build was down to frequent illness as a child, yet he always desired that his paintings represent him as being robust and intimidating. And it was Van Dyck who skillfully depicted a strong king while maintaining a realistic appearance, while clearly demonstrating his creative ability. Let's take a closer look at the faces now. Now, like I said earlier, in spite of the sunken eyes and the dark circles under his eyes, Charles's face is filled with colour and highlights, and it really does make him appear youthful. Now, another part of the facial image is the hair. Now, the king's hairstyle, which has been deemed effeminate by some, but at the time reflected the current vogue for males to wear their hair long, but it was always draped over the left-hand shoulder. It's funny thinking about it. I was thinking about this today because how fashion repeats itself, because looking back to the 60s and 70s when long hair again came into fashion, and if you're old enough to remember those times, all these angles effectively illustrate it. Now, I, for one, do remember the 70s. I can't say I remember the 60s, but I will give in and give you a clue that I do remember the 70s. So there we are. So that's a little bit of a first glimpse of this painting. Right, so tell me, I'm going to have a look at the chat room for a moment. What do you think? Did Van Dyck, not Dick Van Dyke, by the way, did Van Dyck capture Charles in a way that was inspiring? And did he show a man that was strong and capable? What do you guys think? Let me have a look. Let me just go through some of these messages in here because I've not had a look for a while. Diane, I love how art through the king brought the UK into the Enlightenment age. Yep, And I think art is very important. It's a very important part of history in general. A lot of people seem to concentrate on a particular character or a particular location, for example. But I do think that art brings it all together, because it is, after all, it's a moment that's been captured in time, and it's really important to make all these other connections. It brings all the other connections together. So I think art is great. Mugshot, yes. PMSL. I don't know what that means, Dan, but please don't put it in the chat. I'm only joking. I do know what it means. Ceci. Saludos. Ceci, I do not speak Spanish. I have to use Google Translate for your messages, and I can't put that into Translate at the moment. But saludos, I think that means good evening. I may be wrong, but anyway, good evening to you too. Thank you for joining. Leela, 4'11" tall. Was he considered a midget back then? Because I do not know that people. I do not know that people were shorter back. He was. Well, I don't think anybody would have dared say to Charles's face, "You are a midget," and that was certainly. As I mentioned, it was something he never wanted to be looked upon. He obviously had a conscience about it. Hence, he wore the I forgot what they call them, high-heeled shoes or boots, and also these tall hats, which would give that impression of him being a lot taller than he actually was. Cheryl's using foul language. I don't know. Do you know what? It's disgusting. It might be Cheryl putting in what PMSL means, and before anybody else puts it, I do know what it means, but I'm just not saying it. Alchemy, quite correct. Yeah, people were generally shorter back then compared to today. And if you go to some of these really old houses that around the UK, you can see the size of the doors. They're like 4.5, 5 feet. And you've got to well, I do, because I'm 6'3", and I have to like crawl into some of these places. Anyway, let us carry on, and I'll come back to you guys shortly. Right, what we're going to have a quick look at, the next part, are the clothes that Charles wore in this particular image. So we will move on to that. Leela, 5'2". It's all right, 5'2". Nothing wrong with 5'2". Right, let's go. Charles's clothing. Here we go. Let's move on. Now, as you can see in this portrait, Charles is dressed in 3 different costumes. We've got the black one, the red one, and the other one is apparently purple, but I don't know if it's my eyes, it just doesn't look purple to me. But regardless, I'm not going to argue. It says purple. Now, either Van Dyke or Benini, or the monarch himself, were showcasing their respective talents for depicting luxurious, heavy textured fabrics, or maybe all 3 of them were just displaying their own personal wealth and taste by dressing Charles in such a lavish manner. Now, the ribbons of blue contrast with each costume. You can see in each image he has this blue ribbon down the front. Excuse me. Now, the blue pigment for anything in those days was a very expensive material to have to purchase. So, in my way of thinking, it must have conveyed the sitter's importance, money, and quite possibly social standing. Nevertheless, the blue sash that we see in each image shows Charles to be a member of the Order of the Garter, which is the oldest and most prestigious order of chivalry in the United Kingdom. Now, considering that it was founded by Edward III in 1348, it's possible that the king wished to convey how much of his history and status extends, and maybe also to demonstrate that he was the legitimate ruler of England. Now, the background of the image, which again is different for a couple of reasons, so let's just go back to the original one, and you can see the background on this. Now, unlike other paintings of the monarch, most of them were either set on a location or against a simple brown background. Now this one appears to have a dark blue and thundery backdrop. Now even in the central part at the top, you'll notice there is a modest kind of red tone to the area, and that can easily be missed at first glance, yet the colours used again perfectly reflect those in the outfits. So overall, this whole image generates a balanced palette, and it's I can't say this word, aesthetic. I should have just said beautiful. Aesthetically beautiful, which I think is a better word. And it's completely down to Van Dyke, demonstrating, of course, his artistic ability and taste. Right, so there we go. And a little bit of a closer look at the painting, and I'll show you the whole image shortly. Now, I would urge you, if none of you have seen any of Van Dyke's work, to go and have a look. There is an absolute ton of it on the internet, and you'll be able to see that some of the pictures absolutely stunning. And it just begs the question how they did it, because when you look at today's artists, you've got a tube and you put it on your palette and you get your brush and away you go. But in those days, everything had to be handmade and hand mixed, and it's just mind blowing when you look into it. The more you look into it. So I would urge you all to go and have a look at some of Van Dyke's work. It's extraordinary, and anyone as gifted as this man really deserves the plaudits. And I'm sure you'll find at least one of his images to your liking. Right, I'm just gonna grab a drink because my throat's going. Oh, excuse me. So I'm just gonna have a quick drink. That's better. Right, let's have a quick look what's going off here. Cheryl, he looks noble. He does. It's a great picture. It's an amazing picture. Leela, were purple clothes very expensive back then, hence the reason that mostly royal wore it. It makes him look very regal. I don't know about purple. I do know that, like I mentioned, the blue was a very expensive colour. The pigment, I don't know how it was made, don't know anything about it. I just know that blue was quite possibly, well, I think it was actually the most expensive of all the pigments that you could purchase in those days. And maybe, thinking about it, that's where royal blue came from. The colour royal blue may have come from way back then. Again, I don't know. I've no idea. I'm just guessing on that one. Cheryl, in Jacksonville, the fabrics look so real you could actually touch them. Yes, they do. And the picture I've got on the screen tonight doesn't really do the image justice. Yeah, I think you need to see the actual one, and I think that's the same with most things in the art world. Go and look at the original. If you ever get an opportunity to go to some of the great museums and go and see the originals, that's obviously the best way to see it. And you can never reproduce that kind of, I don't know what it is. There's just something about them when you see them for real, compared to when you see them on a computer screen. Denise, the sky looks heavenly to me, symbol of the divine. Could well be. Again, I don't know. It's got that thundery kind of texture to it, but like you say, it could also be a divine sky. Maybe, I don't know. It could be. You might be right, and it's great. I'm glad you guys are getting into this because it's really good. It's useful, like I said to you earlier. You'll probably go to a museum or go and look at another picture at some point, and never look at a picture the same again, because it's only when you look at the little details that it all starts to come together. And normally, paintings do tell a story of sorts, and this one certainly does, because it was going to be a gift for his wife Henrietta Marie, which I'm going to get onto right now. Right. D. Poole, I've seen that picture at the Royal Academy of Art at an exhibition of King Charles paintings, and I don't think it's you can tell me then, D. I don't think it's a particularly big portrait, is it? I think is it kind of just like that kind of size? I can't even get my hands on the screen. But I don't know. I don't think it's not one of these like giant portraits that you see. I think it's more a normal kind of size. But anyway, you when you hear me, because I've got a little bit of a delay on this, I think. Honesty and truth. All right, I appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot for coming along tonight. I'm almost finished. Probably another 10, 15 minutes, maybe not even as long as that. Well, we'll see. Right, we're going to once again get back into this painting finally and have a quick look at the face of Charles. This is a bit more of a close-up on his face itself. Now, as I said, one could argue that the king's expression is impassive, yet attempting to look forceful. He wanted to be recognised as a capable and legitimate monarch of England, and all the more so considering his position at the time that this image was actually done. Now, for Benini, it may have simply desired a neutral face, which could be used for the bust, and a relaxed expression may have been what he was aiming at. Now, as I said, Henrietta Maria was particularly fond of this image, and there is, of course, no doubt in its impressiveness. It's likely that Charles would have agreed that the portrait is indeed an excellent likeness of himself, and I think looking at it and looking at other pictures, I think he's probably justified when he was alive to say that, because it actually is a stunning picture. Right, finally, I'm going to show you the full image now. Where's the full image? Here it is. So that is the full image, squared off a little on this, but there you go. Now, Charles, as we know, was executed on Tuesday, 30th of January 1649. He may well not have been the greatest king of England. However, the artistic portraits we are left with today certainly show a certain charisma and charm. And I, for one, absolutely adore this painting. There's something about it. It's one of those. It's just a stunning piece of work, and hopefully you do too. And with all that said, there is your picture of Charles I in 3 positions. And I'm done and dusted. I'm just going to have a quick drink. Oh, brilliant. How many have we got on here? 23 people. Fantastic. So, to end this evening, I will come back to the chat in a moment. Right, where am I? Excuse me. Okay, thank you. I'm not gone yet. Do stay, because I'm going to tell you something about the weekend in a minute. So to end this evening, I obviously want to thank everyone for coming along. Yes, it's been a little different. It's not the norm, but we try. History, as I've always said, is not just about one particular person, Henry, for example, or even a place, Hampton Court. It's much more, and paintings play a crucial part in discovering new aspects that we just wouldn't know without them. Now, if you've enjoyed this brief journey tonight into the world of art, please leave a like, and if you're feeling really generous, then you can quite possibly, if you really want to, that is, subscribe to the channel, as that would be absolutely fantastic. Now, I've mentioned it before, I'll mention it again. You can also follow History Roadshow on Twitter, Facebook, and of course, talking about pictures as we have been tonight, Instagram. So there you go, something else for you to look out for. Now, before I go, do we have any requests? Have we got any opinions? Any questions? I'm just going to have a quick run up and down. I'm from Greece. I am from Greece, but I apologise because I've absolutely no idea how to pronounce your name. So I apologise for that, but thank you for joining us from Greece. Cheryl said, don't forget, in the old races could only be worn by royalty. Could only be worn, yeah, possibly. If you mean the blues, yeah, possibly, yeah. Possibly only the royals and the people of higher class could afford that sort of clothing anyway. So it was probably out of the reach of most people back in the day. Anita, it was very interesting. Thank you. Anita, I'm glad you found it interesting. Like I said, it's not the norm, but it's just something a little bit different. And if you guys have got anything out of this tonight, then that's great. And hopefully you'll all get the chance to maybe one day see the image in person. Sus, thank you. Yes, it is a beautiful work. You're quite right. It is a really great painting. Denise, love looking a little deeper into the paintings. Yeah, it is. It's nice to have a look at something completely different, I think, from time to time, Denise. Like I said, history is history, regardless. You know, it's just something a little bit different. And I think, you know, we have to just, you know, spread our minds a little bit sometimes and look a little further afield at other types of history, because there is so much out there. I'm just waffling. I'm looking. What's this one? Leela, very interesting. Thank you. Appreciate it, Leela. Thanks for joining us. Oh, Cheryl's come back. She meant the purple. Right, okay. Yeah, purple, yeah. Well, again, the purple, it's probably something that was just out of reach for most people. Jane, did I see you earlier, Jane? Did I say hello to you? I can't remember if I did. Thanks for joining, Jane. Well, I'll think about doing more art talks. If people enjoy things about pictures and paintings, especially of that sort of quality, because it's a complete one-off and it's just amazing. So I appreciate you joining us tonight. Now, Holbein, I did a video about 2 years ago on Holbein, Leela. So it's not the best. In fact, some of my videos 6 months ago are not my best videos of all time, but you know, they are out there. But I'll probably end up remaking a lot of those older ones and updating them. If not this year, probably next year at some point. Anyway, guys, enjoy the rest of the day wherever you are in the world, or whatever you're up to right now. I'll be back again this weekend. I've got another video, and boy, this is a terrific story about another of Britain's Queen consorts. Now, I'm not going to give too much away. I will put something on the community post on Saturday, so you'll all be able to read about it there and then. It should be online Sunday evening, usual time, about 7 p.m, which is British Summer Time, BST. I'm sure you can work that out for yourselves if you live in different parts of Europe or maybe the States or wherever you're watching this from tonight. So good night. Any last things coming up here? Rosie, good night. Good night, Rosie. Thank you so much for joining. Glad you enjoyed it. Cheryl, looking forward to more live chats. Thank you, Cheryl. And I think that, guys, that just about wraps everything up. So until the weekend, I will see you on Sunday evening around about 7 p.m. with a great new video. And I can guarantee, absolutely guarantee, that you will enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give it a like. This replay will be online in a few minutes time, so if you've missed any of it, if you missed the beginning and you want to catch up and watch me waffle on for another, how many minutes we've been on? 48 minutes. Feel free to do that, and until next time, I'm definitely going this time. So good night, good night, good night, good night.